Yes. Hi, Cancer. How are you? Happy to be here with all of you. Cancer, we're going to get into your February 2024 readings. I'm MJ. I'm the founder of Ultra Love. I read tarot cards intuitively. I offer yoga sessions. I offer breathwork meditation and EFT. So feel free to reach out for private services. There is a Patreon community that get ad-free first access. And there's some online courses, a book, and merchandise. So feel free to check all that out. Subscribe, like, follow, share, and also comment. It's really, really cool to get to know people on the internet. And to be fair, I've made some really, really amazing friends over the years. So thanks, everybody. Woo! Okay, Cancer, here we go. You look like there's a bit of an emphasis on money, home and family, community, and feeling really supported financially. This is being challenged, though. And I would dare say some of you, possibly this month, could go through a bit of an up level or experience an up level with regards to your finances in your home and family, community, work life. To me, the Ten of Pentacles is quite total. Everything's working well. All the generations are there, the dogs, the kids, and it's an abundant, supported, plenty of good food, good shelter, sort of a wholesome, happy family life, right? That's once again supported. The patriarch is there, the old figure sitting with his cloak is there. It's there's a wisdom energy as well coming through. It's like a boss up. So bossing up into the King of Pentacle energy here. You've been challenged. I think you've been maybe feeling really unlucky, like you've just maybe had like back-to-back situations that are feeling gack supreme. The Four of Pentacles to me just feels like things have been tight financially, that you've had to spend less or be certainly maybe more responsible or aware with regards to what you're doing with your finances. You're going to end up feeling successful. This King of Pentacle energy to me is you bossing up again, or whatever that might mean to you. Maybe getting a new job or finally stabilizing things financially. It could be to do with some investments paying off as well, because it's Four Pentacle to me is often like an investment and or philanthropic, or there's you do have to be responsible, but there's a sense of, okay, I've got these Four Pentacles, what am I going to do with it? How am I going to move things forward? And again, I'm looking at a Four of Pentacles to a Ten of Pentacles, so something that you're doing or working on that's been challenging, or you've been going through back-to-back challenging situations to the point where you're like, God, what do you want from me? Like feeling just unlucky, like God, just hence strength, maybe faith being challenged. And there's something about your physical reality too that's reflecting things back to you that are going to help you feel successful. Six of Wands, feel more empowered financially speaking, more on top of things financially. Ten of Pentacles can often be an inheritance or a bit of a windfall, because you're moving from a Four of Pentacles to a 10, which means there's a substantial shift that's coming into your world financially that, is really going to change things for you in a positive way. This could also be a benefactor, or like the King of Pentacle. I want to say like could be a benefactor, but the Five of Cups just come out, so I'm like this could be a loss. Like, sorry to say, there's a sense of celebrating. You could say you've been like celebrating a life. Success in work, though. This is like definitely success in work. However, there's a Five of Cups, so there's potentially something coming in that could be disappointing, forcing you to let go of something, forcing you to release something, mourn something. Ten of Pentacle. It could be inheritance and or a substantial shift in your working life. It's like going from 40 grand a year to making 100 grand a year or something like that, or whatever's relative for your place. Yeah, I've pulled the Ten of Swords, shuffled again, the Ten of Wands. So there's a karmic release. There's just an ending of a cycle. And I mean, Ten of Wands is working really hard. And then based on the Nine of Cups reverse and the Strength reverse, I'm like, you've been working really, really, really hard for a long time with what seems like very little payout. And you're just like, fuck this, right? And I think that's part of this energetic shift of rising into this King of Pentacles. You're like, I gotta man up or woman up or boss up or whatever it is to really own my world, own my environment, come into my power, be responsible with my finances. You might be reining it in, you might be. There's another element to Four Pentacles about, so everything's close to your chest. So you're not necessarily saying to anybody how much money you have, what you're going to do with your money, what's going on financially. But on top of that, if there are ideas you're percolating with, investments you're toying around with, you're not talking about it. You're not talking to anyone about it. You're just sitting with your situation, kind of, yeah, own it. You're not running away from it. You're just owning it. This owning of it can help you feel more successful. Part of the release is possibly ancestral burdens, stuff we inherit from the lineage, familial construct and programming, releasing the Ten of Wands, releasing a way of working and a belief system around that way of working. For example, I know I'm not alone with this, but you gotta work hard. We're gonna work hard. And that's just a blanket statement that doesn't necessarily always mean anything, nor does it mean we're productive, nor does it mean that working hard is going to serve us. As in changing the framework and our perception around work, our value, our personal value within the work. And increasingly, I think it's important for people to prioritize their personal well-being. That's just a reality. We can't really show up for people in a working situation, in a home situation, whatever it might be. If we're super sick, that's when we often have to learn how to receive help from people, or right? So there is something here about owning stuff and just maybe it's also like letting go of taking on too much from other people. But it's like letting go of a way of working that makes everything just pile up on top of you. Some of you might get creatively inspired as well. So there could be a part of what's shifting the work flow is instead of letting all the energy pile up, like channeling that energy into something creative, possibly. I'm going to pick a few more cards on each deck here. I always think of getting away with that card. Some of you might want to or need to get away, or just there's a bit of romance in that energy as well. There could be a bit of passionate romance, a bit of sauciness, as in I was saying a retreat, but then I'm like, oh, there's two people here. So like getting away on a romantic break, going away on a spa retreat with a lover or loved one, right? Friend or a child or something, like just getting away from the day to day. All in all, though, Cancer, I gotta say, I think this is a really good reading, especially because like there's this really heavy focus. Yeah, heavy focus, but then things are coming up. Like you're gonna owning it all, working through the stuff that makes you feel like unlucky or makes you feel like you want to give up. And again, that getaway, romantic getaway, fun getaway, that energy can liberate you from that dire perspective sometimes of just got to work hard, just got to plow through, just got to take on. And then there gives you a bit of permission to have a change around like, I just don't want to have to work that hard, or I just don't, it's just, it feels like I'm breaking my back trying to do everything for lots of other people, and I don't get to have any of that joyful fun from all the work I'm doing, etc. But it could be too, like you're having to release guilt. Say if you've been parenting for some time and kids are getting older and you can't show up for them in maybe the same way, and then there's a reaction or something that goes on that makes you feel bad, makes you feel guilty. So be mindful. Guilt is like, to me, similar to jealousy or well, again, there's discernment with all of this stuff, but to me, like often guilt and shame are like control energies, basically. So we want to sit with our guilt. We don't necessarily want to act from it. As in, when we feel guilty, because especially when it comes from that flip around of like, if we've genuinely done something wrong and we feel bad, that's natural. That's a natural, I think, human reaction. So I feel guilty or bad because I acted out of line and I've hurt someone's feeling, and that's not nice. But when it with regards to self-improvement and self-development, when we're empowering ourselves and we realize that we have certain more than likely codependent relationships whereby we are wanting to do something that's empowering, that is positive, and the other person's like, you're not focusing on me, or you don't, or like, what, like they turn it around and guilt you. So then they've reacted in such a way that makes you feel bad for wanting to do something good for yourself, which technically like is good for everybody. But change frightens people. Self-improvement often can trigger people. So be mindful of that, be discerning. It's in the reverse, which does sort of tell me beware of that, the old paradigms where people could be like, but dad, or but ma'am, why didn't you said you would take that for me, or you said you'd do that, and then it's one more thing that you have to do. But the boss up power energy is like you taking time with a romantic partner, or taking time, a fun time for you, not in a sense of dutiful obligation. Because the boss up here is leading you to a really joyful, supported, abundant life. Maybe for just a few, some of you, there could be a discomfort. There could be stuff going on that is not easy to process. Mourning, loss, mixed bag of emotion. But this loss and grievance that you're healing, or that is coming up on an emotional level, is in a sense kind of bringing in this 10 of Pentacles. And I almost was going to say like everything you could have ever wanted, but I think there's such a paradox in this earthly existence where even the projection of when we think people have it all, it's not like, increasingly, I think we have plenty of messages in the world to show us that fame and fortune doesn't solve our human problems. Power and greed doesn't solve our human problems, right? To me, this feels really wholesome, grounded, and like, especially that energy. You've worked really hard. You've tested yourself. You've just kept kind of showing up for the work. Plus, there's this other maybe level of consciousness or awareness that's coming through you that's helping you or guiding you to channel some of that energy into something creative. Maybe taking time out, take time away from the life, because there is something about you becoming your own person, becoming King of Pentacle, owning your life and becoming who you are, what you want to create, what you want to do. And basically from that position of like, this is who I am, and this is who I'm going to be, and this is how I'm going to show up, and this is the kind of money I'm going to be making, and this is, etc. That position starts to break down and help you release the old way of working or being, which often had you feeling like you're breaking your back just to end up feeling guilty or left out, or right. So there's like a mourning of some losses that's happening, I would say, like in the vortex or on the fringes perhaps, and or it's coming. It's an energy that's going to come in over the month. So significant changes, and a lot of it is like you just owning your power, sitting on stuff, not probably reacting. And the shifting with that is like suddenly saying no to something or yes to something, or these slight changes that seem slight or feel, or you might not even notice you're doing them, but then actually, holy shit, I'm feeling a lot better, or I'm suddenly making a lot more money, or okay. And then that empowers you to keep making those kind of decisions where you're not doing it out of guilt, you're not doing it out of duty, you're not doing it because that's what you've always done, like that's another thing about being more present with things. Like, are we just doing something out of autopilot because we've always done it? Or are we doing it with intentional energy? And I gotta say, like, these last few years have been so weird and tumultuous. I think a lot of us in different areas could just be like in these loops, and yet the awareness of the loops are kind of becoming more subtle. And then we get to these points where we're like, oh wow, I'm really quite different than I was 6 months ago or a year ago. who am I now? Right. And I would dare say there's going to be a benevolent kind of energetic feeling of success that comes in for you as you're owning it. Yeah, my faith was tested. Yeah, there was a while where I was borderline depressed or thinking that I'm just an unlucky person. Like you might have been holding all of that. And then some of it, yeah, it might be connected to thwarted creativity. It might be connected to having to work tirelessly for other people. And if you don't work tirelessly, they guilt you into doing it anyway. And so, and I actually, as I speak these words, I'm like, I think these are human patterns that a lot of humans are endeavoring to break free from, and that requires self-improvement and or self-reflection to understand ourselves better and know who we are and try to figure out, like the efficacy of what we're doing on the day to day and how that's flowing, working for us and the trajectory that we might be on in that accord. And this is where I think for some of you, and this is where the infinite intelligence or that expansive quantum perspective can highlight things, is that part of these sort of, I guess, consultations would be that often there's a sense of like, I'm just guided to be still. I'm not guided to take action. And that can feel really uncomfortable, destabilizing, debilitated even. And yet it's a very important part of the process sometimes because we need life to show us the way instead of just like relentlessly going around in our pattern, breaking our back, but just to break our back. No, there's a sense of, oh, right. And life itself does that for us. It's like shadow work and emotional alchemy. Yes, we can go to therapy for years. Yes, we can do healing after healing and qualification after qualification. But if we're not sitting with our beingness and getting to know our own heart and our own mind from within ourselves and developing a connection or relationship to qualities like forgiveness, surrender, compassion, empathy, that autopilot stuff is deeply ingrained. That's the easy bit. To be reactive, to blame everything and everyone, or in order to victimize ourselves. And all of it has value and all of it has its place. And yet, with maturity, with life experience, with wisdom, I dare say that's the beauty of this life, is that we can get to a renewed sense of ourselves at these different points of life or different ages and make different choices. And those are the different choices that effectively transform our lives and bring us to points where we then, like miraculously, we get to that point and then we look back and like, oh my God, that minutia, that kind of small detail, or what seems small, I just made a different choice that day. I just didn't do it like I always did that day, just that day for whatever reason. And it changed the game. It flipped it around. It flipped the script. Like suddenly, oh, I am proud of myself. Oh, I am successful. And again, like there's lots of energy here. There is definitely some mourning or grief process that looks like for some of you possibly coming in a debilitation. But again, the kind of long game and or Feb, March going in is 10 of Pentacle energy. So you guys, I think, are having a powerful intention to secure your home, I want to say, or like, yeah, it's about security, longevity, stability. Yes, power, but in a wholesome way, right? That's certainly from the ultra love perspective. I'm not gonna be in any way saying that power is about status and how much money you have and um how much power you have over other people. Power to me is love. Power to me are the people that have enough for their community, are looking after their community sustainably, right? um and I sense anyway, those that are aligned with this channel, like you're headed in that direction. You're like, I can't break my back. I've got to look after myself, like, so that I can look after my peeps, so that I can take my romantic lover away on a weekend away. And possibly for some of you, so that I can do more reflective work, so that I can do more creative work, right? And then that somehow there's this, that 10 of Pentacles really like the being like, don't worry, whatever you're going through, all this stuff is happening and you're gonna have enough. You'll have plenty. there's like a grounded joy. It makes me think of like the quiet provincial town of, that's like South Park, but I'm thinking of Belle from Beauty and the Beast and the opening sequence with her in her little quaint village. I do get that sense, the bakers and the everybody's looking after each other. There was a simplicity, and yet I feel like we're having to be really open about the bridging of our worlds from the wholesome simplicity of connectivity to food and nature and da da da, and like without all this sort of manipulated grandiosity of Hollywood or certain mainstream agendas, but to ground ourselves in that community life in a joyful sense of well-being and to embrace technology. I think I'm starting to shift. Yes, there's lots of darkness, I'm sure, and potential for corruption within any industry. People like there's just kind of that shadow in every aspect of life, but uh it's here. Technology is here, and I think there's a lot of us that's evolving consciously, that can continue to evolve consciously, that can help us embrace and integrate the most positive aspects of technological evolution, only to support our well-being here. Not to infringe on each other's privacy, not to buy and sell data to try to own more power. Like I think the newer generations are just like, oh, like sad, but there again, it's just the natural flow of life, is that will be a generation that's making their way to other realms, you know, in the purity of bliss, basically. Like, and so it's all good. It just is a natural cyclical thing. And I'm suddenly aware, there's lots of different things going on in lots of different areas, not just on this planet, but like in the galaxy. And in many ways, I'm excited for the way that we can evolve and change and grow and embrace our own evolutionary inventions and possibly interdimensional or extraterrestrial inventions that continue to expand our ability to love, our ability to live in love, right? And I think our communicating, and there's just so many different aspects to that evolutionary process, which I just think is happening all the time, whether we like it or not. We're here for it, like we're here for it, because we exist, because we chose to exist, as painful as it is sometimes. And it's scary as this little blip of our finite earthly existence goes. There's that broader part of us that knows more of the stability, security, and eternal presence of all that is, which we are that too, so it's just kind of weird and cool and awesome. You're awesome, Cancer. Thanks for being here, you guys. I hope that you all have a wonderful month of February. I look forward to seeing you next month or sooner in the dailies and the weeklies. Have an awesome month, Cancer.